Well, Tim, last night, opening night, the NFL draft, and I got to tell you something. I thought they did a really good job, so kudos to them. Huge week and weekend for the NFL, but a bigger week potentially for the market. You have a huge earnings week, as we mentioned tonight on the show, as Carter Worth mentioned. First time that these mega cap tech names all report in the same week. What are you looking at? There are a lot to look at, I understand, but what's the one thing you're looking at?
I can't talk about next week's earnings until we address, our least favorite commissioners of pro sports leagues. Goodell. I mean, seriously, what was going on last night with him?
He's socially inept. He just doesn't do well in this environment. He's not the face of the league. I mean, maybe he does a great job behind the scenes. I'm even skeptical of that. But as a front person, he's miserable. And he's getting paid, I think, north of $30 million a year. And you can make an argument that he's underpaid given the revenue stream of the NFL. So it's just good for him for getting a job.
Well,
by the way, he's from your neck of the woods. He's a Bronxville guy. Mean Streets of Bronxville, right down the street from your neck.
You know what? That's disappointing. Speaking of getting paid, by the way, was Jerry Jones on the yacht last night? What was going on there?
That was dark. He looked like Dr. Evil. I mean, it was this most. I don't know if that was his wife, his daughter, and I mean, the whole thing was.
Take it easy. Take it easy. I think you're going into a dangerous place right there.
No, I'm just curious.
It was weird. And I'll say one other thing while I'm in this kind of snarky mood. It's difficult for me to like the Ohio State for different reasons, and there's probably a lot of people that now hate me. But how about when you consider that the first three guys taken in last night's draft, when you throw Joe Burrow in there, who at one point was on the Ohio State roster, are Buckeyes, man. That's incredible.
That's an amazing stat. I have a joke for you if you want to hear it.
Well, I think I know the punchline. Is it something about getting somebody off my front porch?
Well, maybe we'll save it for another time.
No, all right. Well, yeah. How do you get the Ohio State alum off your front porch?
Pay him for the pizza. Anyway,
right
I digress. Right. So next week, what are you looking for?
So I think, let's be clear. We've got 45% of the NASDAQ that's reporting in Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Facebook. We spent a lot of time talking about Amazon. I think we spent a fair amount of time talking about Microsoft. Let's talk about Facebook and Google. I think, first of all, in the case of Google, because of their sensitivity and the concentration that they have in terms of ad revenues, along with Facebook, makes those numbers really important. I want to hear what's going on in terms of search revenues. I want to hear they're going to be able to break it down also by subsector. And as you start to look at what's going on in the travel leisure world, I think it could be interesting. I tend to believe that Google, which I'm long, is a lot more defensive because of some of the other properties. And some of the re-rating that I think is going on at Google, I think you slowly started both with the management change and getting kind of the founders out of the way, getting the CFO in there she's fantastic, and I think she's transparent. She's giving investors more confidence. I think Google is a stock that I feel okay with, but it's the one I'm watching. How about you?
I think you're right in terms of Google. I think in terms of being defensive or maybe the most insulated, that's probably it. Facebook concerns me. Look, people might be spending more time on the platform, and God only knows if more people sign up. I'm hard pressed to believe. I don't even know if it matters, but the ad spend out there. I mean, you've read all about it. I mean, the dollars are just not there, and I'm not certain they're coming back anytime soon. So Facebook has to address that. It's had a tremendous run off the bottom that we saw, I think, March 23rd. I mean, it's pretty remarkable run for many stocks, not least of which Facebook. So to me, if you're trading the stock, I mean, if you were to take profits you've been long to name into earnings, I have no issue with that whatsoever.
195 on Facebook gets you right at the 200-day. It looks like it's got a little pressure there. As much as I have not been a fan of this management team at Facebook, and I've been critical, and I pointed out that I don't even think they really know how to give you numbers on the cost of actually securing essentially privacy, but securing the platform, and that is their product. So, the word out there is that they're going right after Zoom. So the implications here, if you remember, when Instagram decided, we're going to put Snap out of business, which they didn't do, but they definitely slowed Snap down and knocked that stock down for 2 years. Zoom's had such a big run. This is something that, at least news-wise, over the last couple of days, look, let's be clear. As we all come out of this, Zoom's great, and I think they've certainly taken an important place in the American home office. But I do think there's room for disruption there, and I think Facebook once again has the ability to do that.
There are going to be winners and losers next week. In your opinion, who was the big winner in the draft last night? I have an answer for that, by the way.
Somehow it seems like these guys in San Francisco are one step ahead of everybody, in trading down and beefing up on a defense that was already there. And I have to like the foundation that Miami's building there. I don't know if Bono, Tua, whatever his name is going to be healthy, but those would be the teams I'd give you credit for.
Chargers, I think they got the quarterback for the next 13 years. Philip Rivers leaves, the next guy comes in. I think this kid from Oregon, if he had the horses around him like Tua did, I think he would have been the first guy chosen in the draft. So I'm not a Charger fan, but I'm a fan of what they did last night.
That dude's a beast. And speaking of disruption and things that, let's switch gears on our way out for the weekend. We were talking about Aerosmith earlier in the year, and I was thinking about this. Who do you think benefited more, or this had a better impact on their respective careers? Run DMC on Aerosmith, or Aerosmith on Run DMC? And you know what I'm talking about. Obviously, the Walk This Way video, that vaulted both those guys to new echelons. And I don't know. I think it's actually Aerosmith.
I think Aerosmith was the beneficiary. Aerosmith was in oblivion prior to that, and then they somehow came back they became part of the vernacular for the next decade. Steven Tyler, who was in witness protection prior to that, all of a sudden he reemerged on the stage. So to answer that question, I think Aerosmith was a beneficiary. Yeah. And that being said, I couldn't tell you a Run DMC song became the next six hours.
And I'm not surprised. And you're definitely not the group I'm thinking about. But I knew more about Liv Tyler than. I will say this. There was a bunch of white boys running around colleges in the late 80s singing "It's Tricky," and they were illin', and that that never would have happened if it wasn't for Smitty. So I see Run DMC got more crossover out of that into, let's face it, a very ill demographic they never would have seen. So with that, I think my Adidas are telling me it's time to head outside.
And my Gucci loafers say the same. Have a great weekend, Tim.
You too, bud.